the mist that consumed us. I've always been drawn to the mysteries of the forest, the way the ancient trees seem to whisper secrets, the way the leaves rustle with stories untold. I never thought my curiosity would lead me to the darkest, most terrifying night of my life. It was a chilly autumn evening when my friend Sarah and I decided to venture into the woods that bordered our small town. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows that danced among the trees. A full moon hung in the sky, bathing the forest in a ghostly silver light. We were armed with flashlights, a sense of adventure, and an ignorance of the horrors that awaited us. The forest was dense and foreboding, the silence broken only by the occasional hoot of an owl or the distant howl of a coyote. We followed an overgrown path deeper into the woods, our flashlights cutting through the inky darkness like knives. Our laughter echoed through the trees as we regaled each other with ghost stories, trying to outdo one another in our attempts to send shivers down the other's spine. As we walked, we noticed an odd sensation in the air, a heaviness that settled over us like a damp blanket. The temperature dropped suddenly, and a thick, eerie mist began to swirl around us, obscuring our vision and turning the world into a murky, ethereal dreamscape. Panic welled up inside me, but Sarah's confident voice reassured me. "Probably just a natural fog," she said. "Nothing to worry about." But this was no ordinary fog. It clung to us, seeping into our clothes, our skin, and our bones, chilling us to the core. Our flashlights became almost useless, their beams swallowed by the swirling mist. We pressed on, unable to see more than a few feet in any direction. As we stumbled forward, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us from the shadows. My heart pounded in my chest, and the air grew colder with every step. It was as if the very forest itself was closing in on us, suffocating us. "I think we should turn back," I finally stammered, my voice barely louder than a whisper. Sarah agreed, and we began to retrace our steps. But the mist seemed to have other plans. It twisted and writhed, confounding our sense of direction. No matter which way we turned, we found ourselves back in the same place, trapped in a never-ending loop of fog and fear. Panic set in as the hours passed, and exhaustion gnawed at our bones. Our flashlights flickered and died, leaving us in total darkness. We clung to each other, tears streaming down our faces as we tried to make sense of our predicament. That's when we heard it, a soft, mournful wail echoing through the mist. It sent shivers down my spine, and Sarah and I clung to each other, trembling with fear. The sound seemed to be coming from all directions, as if the very forest itself were crying out in anguish. "Please, help us," a whispering voice cried. "You must help us." The voice was alluring and filled with despair, drawing us deeper into the fog. Sarah, always the brave one, took a tentative step forward, her voice trembling as she called out, "Who's there? What do you want?" The mist seemed to part, revealing a clearing bathed in an eerie, sickly green light. In the center of the clearing stood a gnarled, ancient tree, its branches twisted and deformed. Hanging from the branches were dozens of spectral figures, their bodies swaying gently in the breeze. I gasped, my heart pounding in my chest, as I realized that these were the lost souls of those who had ventured into the forest before us. Their eyes were hollow and filled with anguish, and they reached out to us with skeletal hands. "Please, help us," they moaned in unison. "Free us from this curse." Terror gripped us, and we stumbled backward, desperate to escape the nightmare before us. But the mist had other plans. It closed in around us, trapping us in the clearing with the ghostly apparitions. The figures drew nearer, their cold, clammy hands brushing against our skin. I could feel their despair, their longing for release. Sarah and I clung to each other, tears streaming down our faces, as we realized that we were doomed to join them, forever imprisoned in this nightmarish realm. And then, just as all hope seemed lost, a piercing scream tore through the mist. The figures recoiled, their ghostly forms writhing in agony. The scream came again, louder and more powerful, and the mist began to dissipate, as if retreating from an unseen force. A figure emerged from the fading mist, shrouded in darkness, with eyes that burned like embers. It reached out to us, its touch warm and reassuring. With a strength we didn't know we had, we broke free from the clearing and stumbled back onto the forest path. We didn't look back, didn't stop running, until we burst out of the woods and into the safety of our town's dimly lit streets. We never spoke of that night again, but the memory haunted our dreams for years to come. The forest had revealed its darkest secrets to us that night, and we had narrowly escaped its clutches. But I knew that the mist and the lost souls still lurked in those woods, waiting for the next unsuspecting victim to wander into their grasp. And I knew that the true horror of the forest was not in its shadows and secrets, but in the darkness that dwelled within the human heart.